Today we are going to be talking about Endrin. For those of you that don't know what Endrin is, it is an insecticide that was introduced in 1951. It is mainly used on field crops including cotton, maize, sugarcane, rice, cereals, and ornamentals. Endrin is also used for grasshoppers and non-crop lands, and also to control voles and mice in orchards. Endrin was banned in the U.S. in 1986, although some countries still use it. Endrin is a crystalline solid with a mild odor. It is stored at ambient temperatures. It is stable in formulations containing alkaline agents, emulsifiers, wetting agents, and solvents. Endrin will decompose with concentrated mineral acids, acid catalysts, acid oxidizing agents, and active metals. When heated to about 200 degrees Celsius, it forms a less toxic and less active compound known as delta ketoendrin. Endrin is classified as a persistent organic pollutant. It is an organochloride, which means it is a compound that contains carbon, chlorine, and hydrogen. The chlorine-carbon bonds are very strong, which means that they do not break down easily. They are insoluble in water but are attracted to fats. Although Endrin is more acutely toxic than the rest of the cyclodine group, it is less persistent in the environment. Endrin can enter the air by volatilization, which takes place after applications to soils and crops. Endrin can also enter the environment through aerial drift. The most important route of contamination of surface water is the runoff from soil. The contamination can be caused from precipitation such as snow and rain. Contamination can also occur from industrial factories and careless application practices. The most common source of Endrin is in soil from direct application. Endrin can be retained, transported, and degraded in soil, which is the main way Endrin enters the environment. The risk associated with Endrin for the U.S. environment is minimal. The effect Endrin has on soil bacteria is very small. Dose levels of 10 to 1,000 milligram per kilograms of soil had no effect on the decomposition of organic matter, denitrification, or generation of methane. Endrin also doesn't dissolve in water well. It is usually found in groundwater and surface water, but only at low levels. Endrin usually will cling to the bottom of sediments of rivers and lakes. Although Endrin doesn't have harsh effects on the environment, it does harm humans and other organisms when it is ingested. Since Endrin is no longer produced or used in the United States, there are no major threats to the safety of our environment, unless it is exposed in areas where it is concentrated, such as hazardous waste sites. Endrin could be in the air, water, or soil in those areas. Endrin remains active in the environment based on local conditions. Endrin's half-life in soil ranges up to 10 to 12 years. As I said before, Endrin is volatile, and when it is sprayed on crops, it can enter the air. Volatilizations and photodecomposition are the primary factors that help remove Endrin from soil surfaces. Endrin will also decompose with concentrated mineral acids, acid catalysts, acid oxidizing agents, and active metals. When Endrin is exposed to UV radiation or high temperatures, Endrin ketone and Endrin aldehyde are formed. Endrin's chlorine-carbon bonds are very strong, which means they do not break down easily and bond strongly to soil particles. Endrin is highly toxic to fish and mostly affects aquatic life. It has a high potential to accumulate in aquatic organisms. Sheep's head minnow embryos exposed to Endrin for 23 weeks hatched early and all died by the 9th day. Some symptoms of Endrin poisoning are headaches, dizziness, nervousness, confusion, nausea, vomiting, and convulsions. These symptoms can last for a few weeks after exposure to high doses of Endrin. No long-term health effects have been seen in workers who were exposed to Endrin by breathing or touching it. Tests on rodents suggest that high exposure to Endrin while pregnant could result in birth defects. But Endrin does not accumulate in the body to any significant degree, so there are no long-term effects. The approximate toxic or lethal dose of Endrin is 0.2 milligrams per kilograms body weight. This has been proposed as a threshold for death in humans, but there is uncertainty. Children are more sensitive to Endrin exposure, according to an Endrin poisoning episode in Pakistan where 1 to 9-year-olds represented 70% of the cases of convulsions. Endrin can also be passed on through breast milk, and children may be more susceptible if they play outside and eat the dirt near hazardous waste sites. Endrin was banned from the United States in 1986 by the EPA. The maximum contaminant level in drinking water is 0.0002 milligrams per liter. The 1-day and 10-day health advisories for Endrin are 0.2 milligrams Endrin per liter of water, and that is for both adults and children. The NIOSH which stands for National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and the OSHA, which stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, established a limit of 0.1 milligrams Endrin per cubic meter of air. This was averaged on an 8-hour day in an occupational setting, working 40 hours per week. There are many pesticides and insecticides that can be used instead of Endrin that are much safer for the environment. Integrated pest management is also another substitute for Endrin. In this table, you can see how rat organs were affected by the consumption of Endrin. In this picture, you can see how Endrin is part of the Dirty Dozen. And here is a picture of Endrin used as an insecticide. As I said before, Endrin can be passed on through breast milk, and here are some places that contain Endrin in breast milk in Kenya. This is Endrin's chemical structure, and this is a graph showing how Endrin is broken down with splitless injections.